Hi, I'm Brad Hurlock of the Garage Grit podcast, and I'm here with Renan Souza of BR Auto Repair and Collision out of Roswell, Georgia. And we're going to be talking today about his shop and his story. And this is all part of our origin and impact series. And so let's talk about his origin and his impact and how that actually might be applicable to you. So let's jump right in. Renan, good to meet you and good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Good to meet you too. Thank you for inviting me for this interview.
You betcha. Glad that we're able to make the time. So, let's actually start a little bit talking about your shop that you have right now. Uh, BR Auto Repair and Collision. You're in Roswell, Georgia. I was taking a look around on Google Street View, and I found that you've got some competitors on both sides or multiple
Yes.
throughout that whole building.
Yeah, where our shop is located is definitely center, right, where all the automotive industry is, I guess, zoned in the city of Roswell. And right at the building, where we are located, there's several shops. There are mechanic shops and there's some collision shops down from us. There's definitely a lot of competition, all around in that area.
Okay. And if I looked at it correctly, it's like an industrial building, and you're just one of the suites in it. And there were numbered parking spaces. I
Yes,
counted
sir.
maybe 6 or 7 for you.
On the front, yeah. On the back, we have quite more, but on the front, there's only 7 spaces. Yes, sir.
Okay. And so everybody has a ton of space on the back. That was going to be my question. How do you operate a shop with just 7 spots? That's
Yeah. So
impossible.
yeah. So the front, we have to keep it very organized. We don't let cars sit in our parking lot for too long. I have it with me and experience working on the shop. Cars sitting in your parking lot for too long, you're not making money. You have to be, um, you have to work organized. Make sure all the parts are in when you're going to start the job. And if there's any kind of delay, you got to plan ahead. You definitely don't want vehicles sitting in your lot, especially in our situation because we have a limited amount of space. So we definitely have to pay a lot of attention to that. We have 7 parking spots, I believe, on the front, but we have about 10 to 12 in the back that we used. That we
I'm sorry.
use.
I'm just thinking still that's only 19 total spaces. That's tiny compared to what most shops use.
Yeah, the shop next to us, they allow us to rent their rear parking spot. They don't have use for that rear one, so we rent their additional parking spots. So that adds on to our about 19 spaces. I think we obtain like 8 or 9 more spaces from them. They help us with that. We rent from them obviously, but it's definitely a big help to us.
Now, so they're also a repair shop right next to you. So why are they not using the space? Like,
They do mainly older vehicles like classic cars, so their projects are a lot longer, and they don't do the same thing as we do. Their projects are way longer, and they allowed us to rent those additional spaces from them as well. So it helps us, and it also helps them, because it if they're not using, they're making money out of those spaces to help with the rent.
right, right. And that's on the one side. Is that which shop is what's the name of the shop that is the,
Checkered flag,
checkered?
checkered
Okay.
automotive flag.
All right. That's what I thought. And then on the other side, you have some other repair shops type setups. Are they brand specific? Are
The
they
other guy
manufacturer
next
specific?
to us, he mainly focused on Land Rovers, like European vehicles. That's all he does.
Okay.
And yeah,
And is there anyone else in that same strip that's also collision and repair?
mechanic and collision. No, we're the only ones that do both. There's other collision centers down the street, but they mainly work with dealerships. They repair cars so that dealers can resell them, but we don't focus on that.
Got it. Got it. Well, there's also a lot of dealers that are a golf shot away from you as well, right? So you've got like 3 or 4 that are right there.
Yeah, right across the street from us, there's Honda, Toyota, and Mazda. Carl Black, which is the GM dealership right down the street. Um, So yeah, there's definitely a lot of competition there.
Well, and I feel like I mean, dealer alternative is a very common marketing phrase in this space. And so, but I feel like that's actually something that could really resonate with your community because of dealer alternative right there, right? They're right on top of each other. Um, do you actually go to market with that? Do you actually try to explain to people that you are their alternative, or what's your approach?
No, what I focus on is I focus on what we do. Any customer that comes in, they're looking for, if they're in my shop, they're looking for an alternative, right? If they, in some point in time, they were at a different repair shop. So if they show up in my door, I make sure that my team will listen to them carefully, and tell them exactly what needs to be done so that we gain their trust. We're not like they're trying to point fingers. Oh, come here, we're cheaper than that. No, we do our part, we do our job, we make sure that we deliver quality work, and if they're happy with it and they want to come back, that's great. I'm not the type of person that are there trying to compete with dealerships. Say, oh, come here, we're cheaper. No, what we're trying to focus on is quality and customer service, quality and customer service, and that's how we get to keep our customers from for a long time, and get others to come in, especially from um word of mouth. It's That's what we focus on.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, good. Um, that makes complete sense. What I'm really thinking is, how do you make sure that your team? I imagine that you speak at your shop, and boom, whatever you said just automatically happens exactly how you envisioned it, and all of your employees are doing exactly what you're asking. No, of course not. Right. So, what have you done to make sure that your team, when they greet a new person, what steps have you taken to make sure that that greeting matches the sentiment that you just talked about, the customer service, the approach, the making sure that they're happy, and cared for and well listened to?
um Bottom line is, to anybody that comes in that are new, or even someone that is working with us for a long time, is to make sure that everybody is respectful and honest. We don't know everything, and there's something new to learn every day. I'm the owner of the shop, and I'm always trying to learn something new. So, with that being said, if a problem appears, if anything new comes up, the team needs to get together and say, look, we got a different situation here. What should we do? Or I'm having this type of problem. How should we approach? How should we solve this issue together? Not just, oh, you have to do this and that, no matter who it is. No, we have to understand the customer side. We have to understand the employee side. But at the end of the day, we have to make it right. We have to do the correct thing, and we got to deliver a quality job. So having that mentality always helps. If something goes wrong, or if you're not sure about something, stop, ask. Let's research what's the best solution, and work as a team, not just you do your thing and that's it.
Now, but how did you build that culture, that mindset with your employees? That's really
How
what I'm
did I
kind of
build
curious
it?
about. Yes. Is
Um,
it all the interview process? You just got to pick the right people from the beginning?
oh
Or
yeah.
is it here's the customer service training plan program? You start out with the Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like, what did you
Okay.
do?
That this like, if you we have tried that in the past, where you write exactly where procedures you have to follow. It doesn't work. You have to work next to them, especially when they're new, or like they're new to your team. You have to work next to them, or have someone work next to them, and make sure they feel like they are part of the family, and they're not just a employee, they're part of the family. And that any problem that they have, any questions that they have, they're welcome to bring it up. Obviously, you're not going to sit there and be doing the job for them, but you're giving them all the knowledge, that sharing all the knowledge that we have from experience in the past, allowing them to have the proper tools and equipments, to softwares and equipments, to help them find a solution, to any problem that may appear. Because unfortunately, in the automotive industry, at least in my opinion, um, and way back in the day, I have worked in other places that are not automotive related, but when I was little, like at a fast food place, you go into a fast food, you order number two, you just say no pickles, no this, no that, and they take it out and put a French fries and ask what size of drink you want, and that's it. In the automotive industry, it's not as simple as that. You have different situations, you have different problems, so you got to be humble and willing to learn every day with different problems. And you got to make sure that your employees they feel comfortable to tell you any issues or questions they have, and you be willing to help them, not just turn your back and let them do whatever they feel like it's right to do. You got to be on
Yeah.
top of them.
Yeah.
Does
So
that
your
make
training
sense?
approach is in the beginning, they're shadowing you, but before the training is over, you're shadowing them, and you
Correct.
continue to shadow them less and less, right? It's that phase out type
Yeah.
scenario. And all along, you're making sure that they're aware that you're available when because it will happen when
Yeah.
they have a question. Like they're
Yeah, it
part
happens
of
every
that.
day. We
Okay.
got to be available.
Yep. Now, the body shop world versus the repair world, in my mind, are rather different. Now, there's some overlaps, right? Like depending on what type of crash, you're going to need to do some mechanical work to get it, to get it right anyway. But tell me about. Well, let's start out by asking what percentage of your shop is body versus repair
I would
versus mechanical.
say I would say 65% is body and the rest is mechanical
Now, is
work.
that based on total revenue, or is that based on labor hours?
Total revenue, that's
Okay.
usually how I see it.
Okay. That's fine. I was just wondering because I imagine that, the cost of a bumper or doing ADAS is terribly expensive, right? So it can actually kind of inflate that's why I was asking I was trying to get a gauge for,
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that 65 is in parts versus time.
So it that's hard to say. It varies. Honestly, it varies month to month. That's very hard to say. But one of the things that, as you said, body work, like any type of collision work nowadays, has got extremely expensive. Parts like increase like so much. Paint supplies is ridiculous expensive nowadays. So yeah, it's definitely, the tickets are a lot higher on the collision side versus the mechanical. But at the same time, it takes longer to get the job done if you respect and follow the procedures correctly.
Right. Right. And so are you doing ADAS right there in the shop, or do you have a mobile ADAS guy coming in?
No, yeah, we sublet that. We don't have ADOS in the shop.
Yep. Now, when
We
you
don't have
sublet it,
that much volume to invest in all the ADOS equipment
right.
right now.
Now, when you sublet do you have the bay already set up for it and
No,
they come to you, or are you sending the car out to them?
I prefer to send out to the dealership to do all the ADOS calibration. I prefer to send to each manufacturer instead of calling like other companies to come into our shop. I prefer to have the vehicle towed to the dealership to make sure they get their all the calibration and settings done
Yep.
through the dealership.
And then do you hand them certification, like paperwork that says, here's proof that it was certified?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You talking about like if it's done at the dealership?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's if it's a claim going through insurance, you have to submit the invoice in order to get reimbursed for that. And if it's a customer, then we tell them upfront, hey, after this job is completed, this front radar sensor here needs to be calibrated. So we're gonna have to do that at the dealership. Once it's completed, we'll get the invoice and make sure that we'll add that to your bill. But you get the information of when it's calibrated and all done, like a copy
Yeah.
of the invoice and all that.
Right. Right. And you're working directly with insurance companies sometimes?
Yeah, we're not a direct repair facility for insurance company because
Hmm.
our space is limited, but we get customers that bring their claims in and we handle a lot of claim insurance like that. We're not like a direct repair facility. but we have customers from years that they would recommend, and we work um, with individual customers
Yep.
with their insurance company to get a repair.
And I'm curious, how many bays do you have working there right now?
So our shop is the way that it's set up is it's like a straight shop like this. So we got one front bay and the back one. But if you were to calculate on the inside, it would be a total of 5 bays if you were to think in base side. And then we got yeah, and then we install like a carport in the back where we do all the compounding and wet sanding and buffing after the all the the collision jobs and repairs are completed. It's done in the back, so we have that additional 2 bays.
And is that where the painting is going on as well,
No,
or
sir.
is
The
that's
the
inside?
painting is inside the shop where we have our paint booth installed and everything.
Okay, is that one
Yeah.
of the 5 bays, or is that an additional space that you have?
Additional space, yeah.
Okay, good.
The bay, I was just calculating where the cars are worked on.
And so, are 2 of the bays dedicated for mechanical, and 3 are for body, or it
Yes,
actually
sir.
ebbs and flows, and the middle one's
There's two
constantly being.
lifts.
Mhm.
No, the shop is divided right on the center there. The front part of it is mechanical. There's 2 lifts there. The back part is where all the collision, because you don't want to be mixing up, any type of grease or anything like that with the in the body side section. You have to make sure everything is cleaned and there's no grease whatsoever. So you got to keep those things very organized and separated. You can't mix the two.
Now, what is the advantage of having both body and repair in the same shop?
I think it's easier to manage. Um, it's easier to manage, like, at least in my point of view, if I were to have two separate buildings, one for collision, one for mechanical, I'm the type of person that I always like to be on top of it, like making sure things are getting done right. And so, being all in one shop, in my opinion, it's easier for me to manage to keep control of the quality of the work. Um, that's just what I prefer. Other people may have a different opinion, but this is my point of view.
But it's very the technicians are very different. The skill
Yes.
set and maybe even the personality type or the training, definitely. Um, but the type of person, I think, varies from the guy that's that wants to do the paint versus the guy that is
Yes,
replacing gaskets.
it's two different type of technicians and I would say two different types of work. But at the end of the day, it comes handy because um, sometimes you may need uh, um, a mechanical side of it to help a body tech to solve an issue. For example, nowadays insurance company they don't pay mechanical labor for the body techs to change like a AC condenser, for example. Like when they're replacing the front radiator support, they pay as a body tech. A body labor rate is a lot cheaper than a mechanical labor rate nowadays. So the body tech is changing the AC condenser, and if they have any questions, especially with the new system now, a mechanic from the mechanical side of the shop can help them. Hey, you got to make sure that you do this and this procedure. This car takes certain amount of freon, and one helping another. It's two different jobs, but like I said, it's important to keep them all working as a team. It's not like, oh, we have two different shops inside of our shop. No, we are as a team. We're gonna help one another, and it's complicated. It took several years to do that. It's not easy, but it comes handy to have a mechanic and like a master body tech on the side because believe it or not, they're always helping one another.
Interesting. That is interesting. So now I've got like 4 different questions attached to that, and the first one is, you said it takes a long time. You started your shop in 2019.
Yes, that's correct. Right after I
Okay,
graduated from college.
so you graduated from college. You started the shop. COVID happened, so
Yeah.
the timing's fun. Did that actually slow your initial launch at all?
Um. No, I think. Uh. uh, God blessed me a lot during that time, and we didn't stop. We were. It definitely slowed down a little bit, but we had jobs like throughout COVID, and we kept working, just doing our best, and we continued to do it, and it was okay for us during COVID. If anything, at the very end, we were actually very busy at that time, the
Good.
very end of COVID.
Good. Okay, and then the other question I wanted to ask was, about that team relationship and the overlap. And I'm thinking about tracking the dollars into a repair to make sure that you are profitable on each repair. I'm just thinking about how you even said about how the body tech is doing the potential the AC install, but they're leveraging a resource from the mechanic side, right? Are you trying to track how much time is pulled away? Like when you're like internally, not necessarily for even maybe not even for billing purposes, but just trying to understand the cost of you to do a particular job, right? If it's one person that's doing the job as opposed to a team, it's almost easier to track. So I'm just wondering, do you have any mechanisms to try to understand how much it's actually costing you for each repair?
Well, so we have several systems that will sort of tell you the timing to get a job done, but it's not as simple as that. For example, you may have CCC, Pro Demand, or Mitchell One to tell you, hey, to change this alternator is um 2 hours of labor, 3 hours of labor on the mechanical side. The same thing on the collision side. Oh, you're changing bumper fender, this, so the system is giving me 3 hours. Okay, that's great. However, there's things to consider there. And for example, you get a car that is severely rusted, right? You're gonna change a catalytic converter on that car. It's not gonna take the same time as Pro Demand is telling you. You know, you got to put those things in consideration. The same thing on the collision side. You get a vehicle that was smashed on the front, for example, like all the bolts on the fender are like smashed in. It's not going to be the same time as taking the fender. So me and the managers in each department needs to pay close attention to that, because um although at the end of the month you got to make sure that you're making more money than spending, if you know what I mean, to keep your shop open. But at the same time, you're being fair with your technicians. You don't want to be there, hey, on the system says 2 hours, why you're not done, but you gotta look on their side too. There's circumstances, so you gotta try to pay attention to those things, because you gotta make sure that they're just not wasting time. You're paying them and they're just wasting time. But at the same time, you got to make sure that if a job is taking longer, find out what the reason is for, and and be on top of that. It helps. The point is to improve every month. Hey, what could we do better next month so this problem that occurred this month doesn't happen again?
Right.
So those are the things that you want to pay attention to.
Right. That makes sense. You mentioned having a manager. Do you have a body shop manager as well as a mechanical manager?
That's correct.
Okay. And those are different from the service advisors. Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And are those managers also turning wrenches or doing body work, or are
No,
they
sir.
just managing?
Just managing.
Okay. All right. Making sure that the everything's running smoothly. Good. Okay. All right. So I'm curious, how did we? The question is, how did we get here? And so why don't we dial the clock back a little bit and talk a little bit about how you started in this industry and where your roots are there. Um, how when was your first time that you were actually kind of in a shop doing anything?
So my father actually, he was a mechanic at a different shop back in 2000. He started in 2000, the end of 2006 to 2007. He started doing a little work, gaining experience, and he started taking jobs to do on his own. Like at the house, or gaining a little customers. And after that, he opened his own one bay shop. That's that was in 2009. back in 2009. I was still going to high school, and I started helping him. When he was doing the job at the house or doing mobile work, I would go and help him. So I started gaining experience, a lot of experience, and then I would invest my time in, hey, how do I properly diagnose this, or just instead of just watching how to change a part, how do I diagnose this problem? Why did this happen, And I started learning more and more along with him. And then he opened his shop. And at the time, like I said, I was still going to high school. If the rule was, like I said before, if I wasn't studying or playing sports, I was working. And so the goal was always, after I graduated from college, I went to college. I majored in mechanical engineering in hopes that I would learn, more and more about it, or the concepts at least, and help me. I would
And
open
did
my
it?
own shop, and that's how everything started. And
But
after
did
I graduated
did your
from college,
college degree help you? Has your college degree helped you with your shop?
my college degree helped me not didn't help me on how to work on cars, like to
Hmm.
diagnose, but it certainly helped me on how to approach problems and solve problems when you encounter one.
Okay.
That's what college mainly helped me with. I never worked as an engineer in my life, although I have a mechanical engineering degree. My experience and since I was like 14, 15 years old has always been working on cars, and I decided to continue with that. So
Nice.
the answer to your question is college helped me um, work organized, plan my stuff, and be able to find solution to a problem. I think
Okay.
that's what it really helped me with.
Now, BR, did does your shop? You started it in 2019. You didn't take over your dad's shop.
No, so what happened is my dad, my we used to be partners in the shop at the other location, and my parents went through a situation. They ended up divorcing, so I left the yeah it's part of life. So I left the shop that we used to work in because I didn't it was something new to me going through a divorce, and I didn't get used to that situation. So I told my dad, I was like, I prefer to open my own shop, and he supported that, and that was already the goal after I graduated, and then he was also having some issues where he was having some small health issues that he needed to take care of at the time. So we decided to sell the building that we were in back then, and I ended up moving to a different location and renting a place at that time, and then we sold the location that we used to own,
So is
for
he retired now?
Yes, he took care of his problem. Now, what he's looking to do, because he doesn't want to just sit at home. My dad is not. He's still young. He wants to get back and into the buying and selling vehicles keep himself occupied, and also to be able to work and continue active. So he's looking to get back into the automotive business, but more like into the buying and selling side
Okay.
of the business.
Okay. We wish him luck with that, and at
Yes,
least
sir.
he'll be connected to the space in some level, right? So that'll be
Yes, sir.
nice. All right. Well, good. All right. So you were working as a teenager. It was either soccer, studying, or work. And uh, and at one base shop, and then you became partners after high school. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then you were
After,
also going to college part time or full time.
no, part time. It took me 9 years to graduate because I was working, managing the shop for my dad, taking classes at night, and that's
Yeah,
how it went.
yeah. I finished my 4 year degree at 30 because I was part time while I was working and paying for it as you go. And that was just kind of my approach, right? And it sounds like similar to yours. I don't want to amass some sort of crazy debt. I'd rather just right. Uh, so that's great. God bless you for that thinking. That was the kind of the right a good way to think about it. So um, uh, and is that where you met your wife?
Yes, I met my wife in college. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
and
Nice.
it's my
Okay. So
class.
back to the your timeline. So you were working full time, college part time for a bunch of years. Uh, and what was that like working with your dad? It was just you and he. How are you guys getting customers? It was all word of mouth, maybe.
Majority of it, yes. He was. We would get new customers in. Um, referred by others, and also we did do like advertising here and there to spread the word because the shop, at the time was new. So it was a little bit of everything, but mainly word of mouth and just like gaining people's trust. So if we would provide a job on, and at that time it was just mechanic. We never did any collision at my dad's shop at that time when we were partners. It was mainly mechanical work because that's what he worked with before. And after a while, I started investigating more about the collision side of the business. And after I opened my own shop, I start investing more money on that and focusing on the collision
So in
side.
2019, were you just a repair shop, just a mechanical shop,
No,
and then you
and
added the collision, or from day one you were both?
no, from day one, I already had experience, and we started very minor with one tech that used to work. But we were able to do at that time when I opened the shop, we were able to take both mechanical and collision. Started very small. It took a while because you had to get permits for the paint booth. So at the very beginning, it was I would say 80% mechanical and 20%, if anything, was collision, and then start gaining more experience and doing things slowly until we gain the experience to go forward.
So how hard today are you working at keeping a balance? I mean, 65 is, not completely top heavy on the collision side. Um, so how hard do you work to make sure that you have a good flow of mechanical customers as well as body shop? You try to do anything to make a balance, or is it just is what it is?
It is what it is. Like I said, I reinforce on that. I focus a lot on quality, quality, quality. We're not like a big shop. We focus mainly, instead of focusing on big volumes, we focus on quality. So if I get two or three collision cars per week, and we do it right, I'm happy with. If we get more and we do it right, I'm happy with. I don't focus much on volume; is more on quality, and I don't care if the mechanic. For example, from the beginning of the year, this year, last year, the collision side of it um, was doing great, and some of the profits from the collision side, I was having to pass it on to the mechanical side to cover some costs. The beginning of this year, it reversed. At the very beginning, the mechanical side was doing better than collision. So, and that's why I think it's important for the employees to understand that we are a team. So, if one side is a little bit slower today, you know, and you're busier, one is recovering for the other. So we are always having work to do. It's important to focus that way, and that is one of the reasons why. When you ask me the question, what's the benefit of having one, everything in one shop? It's easier to manage like that, and it's in my opinion, it's much easier, and it's better to keep quality, like a quality, high, doing
So
that
what
way.
challenges have happened as a result of having both? Uh, is it more complicated to explain to customers what you do? Is it more complicated from a marketing perspective? Is it, or is there only upsides to having both?
No, no, it's definitely not only upside. It can get very complicated. Um, but it's just like I said, dealing with one problem at a time, being transparent and honest up front with everything. I think it's the easiest way
Sure, sure.
to
But give me an example of one of the challenges that exist because you're trying to do both.
so when you have a collision and a mechanical shop at the same location, one of the challenge, and you have to be very um careful on how you explain to the customer, because if they get in an accident, for example, oh, for example, not too long ago, we had a customer that came in where his rear bumper was damaged, right? Slightly damaged to a point where the bumper didn't even need to be replaced. And they say, oh, now my rear differential is making noise. You have to be very careful with that, especially if it's going through insurance, because you don't want to go there and say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna take this apart. We're gonna, well, you guys are mechanic. You can look at it and see if there's anything. We're gonna see if it's related to the claim. If it's related to the claim, we'll bring out an insurance appraiser to inspect the vehicle. But in some point, some customers they think that just because you're a mechanic shop and collision shop and they were involved in a even a small accident, you're gonna take care of the entire car, you know, for them, make their car brand new. But insurance are only gonna cover to damage that are related to the accident, or caused by the accident. So those are like a small example that I can give you. Um, on the on the uh, on the same line, if we see that being a mechanic, we see that a customer hit a curb, for example, damage a little bit on the fender, but the major impact was on the front right suspension, where we just had a situation like that. Well, you're going to go in as a collision center, you're going to go in, replace that tire, the wheel if damaged, and you're also going to send that vehicle for inspection, make sure the suspension, steering, none of those things got damaged, because if it did get damaged on that side, most likely it's related to that claim that we're working with, and you want to make sure you report everything. So it can get complicated on that sense. You know what I'm saying? What I'm trying to
Yeah.
explain.
Yes. Well, pitching it to the insurance company and pitching it to the customer as well. It's to I
Yeah.
can see where that challenge lays. The do insurance companies like you? I mean, not you, not specifically you, but like your style of. Do they like when there's a mechanic side underneath the same roof?
Um, Majority of them we have the appraisers that come in. We try to have a good relationship and with them and explain to them exactly what we need. And we have no issues. And I think on the insurance side, it's actually better for them anything that we can do inside the shop, because they don't have to pay more. For example, if we had to send a vehicle out tow to get the suspension work done, or to get some mechanical work done at a different shop, they're gonna pay additional fees like towing there and back, um, markup on the total invoice. So I think in that point of view, it's better for them for the insurance. But I feel like insurance nowadays they don't like any shop. They want to try to save as much as they can, but as long as you're reasonable and tell them exactly what you need, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, good. So you knew that you wanted to start a shop, and you were gonna you knew that that was kind of the plan. You explained it to your dad that, hey, this is what I'm about to do. Um, what kind? I mean, you had money saved up. How did you invest in opening, and how did you pick this location? Like, to walk me through the specifics of that 6 month period, 1 year
So
period.
I'm sorry.
Walk me through the specifics of that 6 months or 1 year period. How long did it take,
So
and what was involved?
after I paid all my college
Mm-hmm.
tuitions and all that, I was left with about $13,000 in the account, and I still, at that time, um, after my parents got divorced, I was helping, my mom at the house, paying for items. So money was definitely um, I had a little bit of money, but not a lot to, I guess, make too many mistakes. I had to start very small and yes, aim it right and get everything and take um step by step and be very careful, with the situation. So the reason why I decided to pick that location, honestly, there was another shop there that I knew the guy that was renting was closing doors, and so he gave me the opportunity to take over um, the lease there to start it. And I spoke with the owner of the building at that time. I gave him the deposit, more money out of what I had saved up, and I was buying parts by parts. If I needed to repair a car, I would pay, part by part at that time. It wasn't easy. It took a while, but um, and just having, faith in God, I think things started to go little by little and doing the work
Hmm.
correctly.
Now, were you originally at a different location?
No, so my dad and I used to have the other shop also up north in Roswell. And when I opened this shop up, he was getting ready to sell that property. So
Okay. And where was that what road was that property on?
it was on Alpharetta Highway. It
Got it.
was almost the borderline with Roswell and Alpharetta area.
Okay. Okay. How far north is that?
No, I don't. I would say about 5 miles, six
Pretty
miles.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you're still are you still pulling from the same customer base? I imagine there's some overlap.
No.
No?
I never aim. No, I never aim. Obviously, when I opened my shop, my goal was to start my own and not take away customer from the existing shop, but to gain new ones. But at the same time, when you're part of a mechanic shop, it's just like a haircut salon. When you go get a haircut, you have someone that you prefer in there. So when you're taking your car to a mechanic shop, you have someone there that you trust. So when I left my dad's shop and opened my own, some customers from that shop wanted to be serviced by me at the other shop, so it started. But it at the end of the day, after my dad sold the other shop, the other location, um, customers decided to merge to the shop or go somewhere else. But that's how everything started.
Right, right. Okay. Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah, and I like the bootstrap approach that you had to start the shop. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do, but it's one step at a time.
Yeah, it was.
That's great. I appreciate it.
Yeah, at the very beginning was not easy at all. I would stay like when I first got that shop, I like my stuff very clean and organized. And when I moved into that location, it almost felt like it was garbage everywhere. Literally spent like 3, almost 4 days just pressure washing the work area just to get it clean, to a condition that I could start working. And I set up at that time the two lifts up front. I keep those pictures up today, because it motivates me how it was when we got in, and how it is now. Definitely, and I use that a lot in the meetings with the employees, because some people look at you and they said, "Hey, you're doing well now," but they don't see, how you were doing a few years back, or they don't see what you went through. They just see the good part of it now, but they don't see the how everything started and the conditions that was in. It was definitely not easy.
And that's often forgotten. So I'm glad you brought that up. That you see someone, oh, they're like an overnight success. Yeah, well, it took how many years before that night, right? And then so there's a lot of pre building to get to that point. Um, the So you share those pictures with your team. You mentioned having team meetings. How often are you having team meetings?
I try to do it. I try to do it at least once a month. And I try to go over details of what I see, point out the good things that I see on each individual employees throughout the month, but also um, to point out things that I see that is wrong, where we can improve. So we try to do at least once a month. It's not every month that we get to do it, unfortunately, but we have to I guess try to get that done more often, because it certainly helps. Like meetings, and make sure that everybody's on the same page. It helps a lot. But
Well, why not do it weekly?
because Depending on the work schedule, I try to find a time. Recently, I decided not to no longer open the shop on Saturdays. And the reason being is because I want to use the Saturday morning, if possible, just for us to go to the shop and do meetings because everybody is cooled off, is focused on what we're going to talk about. Because the worst thing you want to do is schedule a meeting where one person is in the middle of a job, or you have to accommodate everybody. So my idea was to do like on select one Saturday morning for each month and go over several details, and that's what we're gonna aim for from now on.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So how do they feel about working one Saturday a month? And it's actually just a half day, probably.
Yeah, no, it's just gonna be for the meeting purpose. I mean, they
No pushback?
some people say, what if we have, we make a plan with the family? We have to accommodate everybody, but at the end of the day, we got to make sure that we sit down and discuss business decisions, plans, where we can improve, where we're doing good, where we're not doing good. So, unfortunately, we have to take the time for that. Um,
You do. It's important. But you allow for some exceptions on family type
yes.
real type. Yeah.
Yes, in my shop, family comes first. If there's a situation, and I tell them all the time, work is great, money is great, but your kids, your family, they always come first. If there's a situation, you need to take care of your family first.
Yeah. Yeah. I often wonder how often you hear those types of sentiments from a large company employer as opposed to a small company employer. In my opinion, or my experience, it's across America. You've got small employers having that approach, that attitude with their employees. I mean, of course, there's exceptions, but it feels like there's a lot more of the small employer with that family mindset than there is in the large corporation world.
Yeah, plus there's circumstances too, like today like I explained to you, I have two kids. And just like this morning, we had to start this meeting a few minutes late because, you know, um, I had to take care of the kids in the morning. So there are circumstances. What you cannot allow in any kind of business is to for people to keep using that as an excuse just to miss work. Which luckily I don't have that problem in my job. But if circumstances pops up, families comes first. Whether they're sick or we had a little girl like um that end up falling and breaking his arm, and at that time I was out of the country. The manager, I said, stop whatever they're doing. He needs to take care of his daughter first. And I prioritize that. Some people may think differently, but after I had my kids, my mind changed. Before I used to stay
Doesn't
at
it
the
though?
shop. Huh?
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah,
does. After you have
before
your
I
own
would
kids, it
stay at the
does.
very beginning, I would stay at the shop until 9, 10, 10:30, even later, solving a problem. Today, when it's time to go home and enjoy my kids, I'll do that. Whatever I didn't get finished today, I'll try to do it tomorrow. And the same thing I want for my employees. I don't want them coming in late every day, just coming in late for no reason. But at the same time, I want to make sure when it's time to go home, close your toolbox and go home, and you get whatever you didn't get done today, you get done tomorrow. But go be with your family, go be with your kids, go be with your wife, because I think it's important.
It is important, and that's a perfect place to stop. We are. It's starting to become a common theme. We're working to provide for our family, right? We're not doing it the other way around. That the it's family is the reason, right? So that's great. So, all right. So that's a perfect place to stop. Thank you for the time today on this recording, and thank you for being a part of the Origin Impact series of the Garage Grit podcast. And so, for those who are just starting to tune in, we have a Facebook group called the Garage Grit Podcast Facebook group. And the concept that we're trying to build there is once a month when we have our panel discussions, we want you to jump in and chime in on some of those discussions after the panel has happened. If you have a thought during the panel while you're listening to one of the panel podcasts and you say, hey, that's wrong, or hey, I have a different opinion, I encourage you to go out to the podcast, the Facebook page, and actually post that and talk about it. We're not trying to argue with each other. We're just trying to share each other's experiences. And the goal of this project, of the Garage Grit podcast project, is to help as many shops as possible. And so by sharing your experiences, as we did today with Renan, we're hopefully helping you along your journey as well. And so, if this is the first time you've tuned into this particular podcast, start liking and subscribing to either on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure that you're getting each one of these new podcasts that are coming out. I believe earlier today we dropped the panel that was recorded just last week, and it was about work-life balance, trying to balance the two. And so check that out, listen. And also on Tuesdays, we're making a habit of going live inside that Facebook group where we're talking about those panel discussions. And so stay tuned for that as well. Renan, thank you for being here. We appreciate you and your time.